world war. And it's not about who's got the most bullets. It's about who controls the information. What we see and hear, how we work, what we think. It's all about the information.
You want a war? You got a war. And there's no looking back. There's no forgetting. And there's no forgiving. I can see it all clearly now. The more we build, the more haters try to tear it down. The more we build. Now you listen to me. All of you. You hoodlums don't own these streets. We got an army that sees these.
How you doing? This is Covert Radio. It is 2/22/22. This is talk radio format. Again, it is February the 22nd, 2022. And, okay. You know, I'm going to give you guys about 15 years in about 10 minutes. And, you know, really all I ask is give me a couple minutes at a time. Give me 5-10 minutes. If you like what you hear, give me 5 more 10 minutes if you like what you hear. But I'm gonna blow your mind. What I'm about to show you and tell you, you will not hear on television. You will not hear on any mainstream outlets. The jig is up. I mean, essentially, and you know, only really stupid people don't try to vet information anymore. And, you know, again, this is the same thing. I'm like, it's not going to bother me, Covert Radio. I'm not Russian. I'm not Ukraine. Yeah, but you know what? Economists are right now saying we're looking at $7 a gallon in gas here very, very soon. And I promise you that if this does go to war, you know, again, and I'm big on activism, we have to start holding people accountable. And if you put these people in office, if you voted, you better hold them accountable. And if you can't or you don't want to, you either need to run for office or you better get ready for entire enslavement, complete medically induced tyrannical enslavement. Again, I don't care what nationality you are, where you come from, what you do. This is going to affect you. And I'm sick and tired of the mainstream news and, you know, these people who think they're smart because they watch CNN, or people think they're informed because they read Yahoo Finance or whatever. I mean, don't you understand it all essentially comes from the same place? Nobody is going to tell you what I'm about to show you. You are not going to get this from communist-controlled media. And for you to attain this level of insight and knowledge, it would take you about 10 to 15 years. Because that's what I essentially have invested in this. But I'm going to wrap all that up into hopefully about 10 or 15 minutes here. The question is this. Let me ask you this question. Why should Russia tolerate NATO at its borders? I don't care. I don't know. I don't care. Well, again, you should care because this is going to affect you. This is going to affect you. There's a massive naval base, Sevastopol Naval Base. It's right here. Let me show you this other image here. Here we go. Here's the Ukraine right here. This is, old Soviet Russia, Soviet Union. There's the flag. This is how big the Soviet Union was. Over here, you see NATO-controlled countries in the green. Ooh, my goodness, what just happened? Oh, okay. You see NATO-controlled countries over here in the green. And then here's the Soviet Union over here, all in red. Let me blow this up for you here. This right down here in the Black Sea, this is the Sevastopol naval base that is controlled by Russia today. It's controlled by Russia. Some say, it's actually controlled by Ukraine, but, they don't really have the type of navy that Russia does. So really, essentially, Russia is the de facto controllers of this naval base. But if Ukraine gets folded in to the EU or into NATO, this will all be green. And then any NATO, member could take over this space here. And guess who it's going to be? It's going to be your daughter or your son or your nephew or your dad or your uncle. Somebody in the U.S. military will be out here in the Black Sea. You see this white line here? This is pre the fall of the Soviet Union. This is around the early 90s. This white line represents the Iron Curtain. And I'm sure you've heard that before. Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall. I'm not saying it was part of the Iron Curtain or whatever, but, again, this is the Iron Curtain here, all the way down. This line essentially separated all of the NATO countries here from really getting all the way over to Russia. Russia is massive. Russia is massive. Ask Hitler how big Russia is. Ask him. Ask how many millions of people had died because when in World War II he tried, with Operation Barbarossa, he tried to invade Moscow while hanging a southern route right down into here for all the oil fields down there. Because essentially, and this is another thing a lot of people don't talk about, Germany was running out of oil. Hitler was not stupid. He did not want to really go into Moscow at the point he did. He tried to cause a diversion and while sending, a massive units down south into the oil fields down in this area because he was going to take control of them. All the tanks, all the machines they had, even though a lot of people in countries in World War II still had, they still had horses and infantry on foot and things like that. They needed oil. They needed gas. And, for the tanks, for the army jeeps, for the motorcycles or whatever, the planes. And they were running out of gas. So, I mean, if they would have gotten those oil fields, we'd all be speaking German right now. I promise you that. We'd be speaking German. But Russia, and that's the other thing. I'm working on a song right now. This is not a threat. This isn't anything. This is the name of a song in an art piece that Covert Radio is working on. Mr. Putin, please, sir, please level DC. Okay, that's the title of a new song that Covert Radio has coming out. I'll say it again. Mr. Putin, please, sir, I'm begging you. I just added that part just now. It's still of word, it's still in its infant stage. Mr. Putin, please, sir, gracious leader, please level DC, please. You would be doing the world the greatest service, and you will go down into the history books for eternity. So, yeah, that's just a song I'm working on. There's no threats there. There's no nothing like that. Vladimir Putin is a very smeared individual. The media has a field day with him and demonizing him. And anybody listening to my voice that's around 30, 40, 50 years old, you're going to remember how really since day one of our youth, let me put it this way. Huh? What'd you say? What'd I say? So when I said that, see, remember when you first heard that, it was so annoying. You're like, oh, it's so annoying. Turn that off. But you know exactly what that is. Right? You know what that is? It's the Golden Arches. It's a several $1 million campaign to drive this deep into your subconscious, to elicit all kinds of images and emotions and, sometimes chemical dependency on food created by McDonald's. That's all it took. That's all it took to elicit emotion, dependency, chemical dependency. Okay, so imagine your lifetime, 30 years, 40 years, I don't know how old you are, 20 years of constantly demonizing Russia, demonizing Russia, demonizing Russia. This is a land of confusion. This is the world we live in. Whoa, and these are the hands we give them. Whoa, use them and let's stop trying. Whoa, to make this a place worth fighting for. Phil Collins' Land of Confusion. Why this song was never remade, I don't know. You know what? Maybe I'll bring that up to Bryson and see if he maybe wants a collab on something like that. Bryson Gray. I've always wanted to redo that song, and maybe Phil Collins, they won't give up the rights to it, or at this point you'd have to make it so lucrative. You'd make 2 cents a unit, and Phil Collins would make 78 cents a unit, and the publisher, whatever. So. Land of Confusion, kids. If you've never seen that video, there used to be this thing called MTV where they actually played music videos. Go ahead and look that up on the YouTubes, and you'll see a video, a music video that tu madre un papa used to watch probably 5 times a day when they were your age and younger. MTV actually played a lot of music videos, and you can see the symbolism there. You can see how when we were young, we were taught to hate Russia. We were taught to fear Russia. Nuclear war, nuclear winter. This is something Covert Radio has talked about for years. And I'm sick of the illusion. I'm sick and tired of these globalist scumbag Satanists lying and lying and lying and winning and lying. And then you have a bunch of lemmings who watch CNN thinking they're smart, and they don't have a clue. They don't have a clue. Russia is not going to lose control of the Sevastopol naval base. They're not going to do that. And more importantly, they're not going to give up their oil. Oh, yeah, geez. You didn't hear that on CNN, did you? You didn't hear that on CNN. Did you hear that Ukraine has a GDP close to $400 billion a year? And a lot of that is based on Russia pumping and piping their oil over to Europe. Here's another angle of this. Russia joined forces with OPEC, which is you guys know what OPEC is. It's the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. You know what I mean? You mostly, when you think of OPEC, you think of the Middle East, right? Well, in 2015, I think it was, or somewhere around in there, there was an extension. You know how like there's Discovery Plus now or HBO Plus, you know, you have all that now. Well, there was a creation called OPEC Plus in 2016. And they folded Russia and Putin into OPEC. Again, a lot of people believe that OPEC is a Middle Eastern organization. That's not totally false because, you know, more than half, maybe 3/4 of the members of OPEC are from the Middle East. You know what I mean? They're Middle Eastern producers. And they are the ones that pump the majority of OPEC. OPEC is a conglomeration. It's a conglomeration. That's why I'm telling you that $7 a gallon is a very real possibility within the next month or so, if this goes left. If the globalists get their way, again, this is all about oil and military. Every time globalists want to take over a region, they always use the peasants. They always will use, well, we got to save and we got to help the civilians from, and then we got to, they're jealous of our democracy and we want to help them. We want to help the people. That's why we're there. We want to help the people. It has nothing to do with oil, even though to this day I have it recorded on VHS when right after 9/11, it was the initial push. I swear to God, was called Operation Iraqi Liberation. I have the ticker right on CNN when all the cameras were right on the tanks and they're ready to go and they're heading towards Baghdad. Operation Iraqi Liberation. Because these Muslims just flew planes into our World Trade Center because they hate our freedom. Idiots. You idiots. Shut up. Shut up and sit down. Don't speak. No, don't speak. No, don't even raise your hand. If I need to hear from you, I will call on you. You listen to what I'm telling you. Okay? Operation Iraqi Liberation. Operation Oral. I like saying that. Oral. Like I'm from the 20s. Oral. Or I'm like some Texas businessman like the Bushes. Oil. There's oil in them fields. Did you guys know that America, in the last few years, has become a massive player in the oil game? Did you know that? And I'm not talking about warmonger tyrants, Satanists, overthrowing governments and countries in the Middle East and taking their oil. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about America all of a sudden hitting the shell market, hitting the shell oil market. Here's the thing about shell oil. There's a quick turnaround of just a week or two, several weeks, compared to oil production the traditional way takes several months. So with all the big shell boom, you guys remember 15 again, somewhere around in there, 2010. So I forget exactly when the Marcellus shell. You know, there's farmers all through Pennsylvania being turned into millionaires because Chesapeake and all these big companies were coming through buying their royalties, their mineral rights. Literally turning farmers into millionaires by signing over their mineral rights. So when the Marcellus shell was under full production, which if you don't know this, that's one of the first things Biden shut down, within hours of being installed, I won't say elected, hours of being installed, he shut down all the production on the Keystone Pipeline. And the Keystone Pipeline is the shell oil. So now, if we're not pumping out I can't. See, I don't want to bore you, and I don't want to get way off track. It's too late, Covert Radio. I'm already bored. Well, when they shut down the Keystone Pipeline, again, that leaves us wide open again for dependency on foreign oil, like Saudi Arabia. You know what I mean? The Middle East, OPEC, the mob, the mafia. But America getting into the oil game because of the shale, the Marcellus Shale especially, you know, that kind of turned OPEC on its ear a little bit. And what happened was global energy prices started to go down. And if you remember, right when, you know, the 15 days started to flatten the curve 27 months later, it's a long 15 days. But whenever COVID was going on or is going on or whatever, if you remember, there was a price war. It started right then and there. And petrol was already heading downward because of the production of the U.S. and the shale. So, you know, the powers to be stopped all that. They stopped the shale operation. They stopped the drilling. They shut down the Keystone Pipeline. And then there was this, because right at that time, there was this massive war between the Middle East and Russia. Everybody else was shutting down in the world. And then there was a price war between Russia and OPEC, which is, you might as well say, Saudi Arabia. So if you remember this, they were saying that a barrel of crude had actually a negative value. Do you guys remember this right a couple years ago? Russia is a global mega producer. They are sitting on the biggest reserves in the world of oil. And again, Ukraine right here, right on the screen. I'll take you back to this image here. Right here. You see that right there? That's Ukraine. Belarus, Moldova, right here. Or actually right here. This is, again, Soviet Union. This is 90s, early 90s. Okay? So what happened was Saudi Arabia started pressing Russia. You know, even though they created the OPEC Plus and they folded Russia into the OPEC Plus to try to say, hey, you know, let's all make money. Let's all make money. Let's not compete. Let's all make money. Let's not keep driving the energy prices down. Let's start, you know, really fucking people. You know what I mean? Let's all do it together. Because again, they know the amount of oil that's Russia's setting on. Putin don't answer to anybody. He joined. See, that's what makes me so mad about what they do to Putin. He tries to be fair, and he has tried to be fair. He's a good guy. Covert Radio, he was in the KGB. Okay, don't. What is this, The Godfather? Michael, senators and presidents don't have men killed. Who's being naive, okay? Who's being naive? Come on. But Saudi Arabia was pressing Russia. You know, they were saying, hey, why don't you cut some of the production? That way, you know, we can compensate for, you know, because of COVID, the declining global demand. And Russia said no. They said, no, we're not going to do it. Again, we don't answer to anybody. And Putin he probably doesn't trust them. He's not going to, why would he trust Saudi Arabia, who just folded him in and thought, you know, he tried to be fair and say, hey, I'll be a part of this, but why would he trust him? Yeah, why don't you cut back production? Meanwhile, they double their production. You know what I mean? So what happened was, well, since Russia's not going to, you know, cut their production, that's exactly what I just said happened. They maximized their own production. I'm talking about Saudi Arabia. They more than doubled their own production. And oil kept falling and falling and falling and falling. Oil went through the ground into negative numbers. Enter Halliburton, Genie Oil, which is Dick Cheney, Don Rumsfeld, you know, the good old boys, the old boy network, the warmongers. You know what I mean? Enter them, the Bushes, and licking their lips for Syria, which, oh my God, there was a civil war. There was an uprising. Next thing you know, Genie Energy's in there sucking up all the oil. Guess what's happening in Crimea, in Kiev, in Ukraine? Oh my God, there's a civil war. But guess who isn't backing down? Russia. They're not backing down. It's the same song over and over and over and over again, except Putin is not going to go to sleep. He's not going to be lullabied or intimidated. He's got the money, he's got the people, he's got the respect, he's got the army, and he's ready to go. There are massive pipelines coming out of Russia through the Ukraine into Europe. And I'm telling you, like I said, oh, we got to protect the Ukrainians. We got to protect them from their civil war because they are afraid of Russia. So we have to protect them. And they're never going to stop demonizing Putin at all. And I'm just sick of the facade. I'm sick of the hypocritical illusion. And I hate these fucking communists. Because everything they're trying to do right now is because of democracy. And this has been going on for 30 years, 20, 30 years. Democracy, democracy, while we are losing our rights and our freedoms every day in our democracy. We got to protect the borders. We got to protect Kiev from invasion. We got to protect the Syrians while our country is being invaded. While our borders are wide open. See, that's what I'm saying. People, you need to pay attention. Ukraine is not a democracy. It's kind of like saying right now Canada is a democracy. While you have pretty boy Floyd Trudeau, who's been so groomed his whole life with his pedo dad. Like, you have no idea the history on Trudeau. One person, one guy, who there's recordings of him, and I can play him because I have another video coming up. He's openly praised communism. He's openly praised the Chinese communists because when they want to do something with their money, when the communists want to do something, they just do it. I'm so jelly. I'm super jelly of those communists. His daddy was a communist, was in love with Fidel Castro and the Cubans. They were all loving in awe of communism, him and his dad. And if what he just did doesn't prove that, I mean, then again, you're asleep and turn off 1,000-pound sisters. Pay attention. Because what he just did is a massive abuse of power. And I personally hope he goes to jail. He's infringing on the Canadians' civil rights. He's infringing on their rights to privacy. They're deep into their bank accounts now, and it's permanent. It's there January 6th. And again, I have another video coming out about that, but this is very similar to that. Ukraine is not a democracy. They have an installed leader, just like Joe Beijing, just like Brandon, who's an installed leader who will say, yes, sir. Yes, sir. What next, sir? Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, sir. I will do that, sir. Yes, sir. He's not elected. He's installed. Just like Ukraine, not elected was installed. Elected. Installed, right? Does it even matter anymore? Can anybody tell the difference anymore? Do you care at all? Just like the night of our installation or election, whatever you want to call it, it was 2, 3, look into this, 2, 3, 4 in the morning. And, all of a sudden there was immediate straight up, not tick, 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 not a gradual climb, directly up, a vertical line straight up for Biden. Hundreds of thousands of votes around 2, 3, 4 in the morning, straight vertically up, which toppled Trump and had all Brandon installed. The smartest people in the world, there's mathematicians that say it's mathematically impossible. And also, there's nowhere in history that there's no proof that this had ever even came close to happening. They cannot find not one trace of any voter history where an anomaly like that happened. There's nothing to see here. Nothing to see. We're just going to keep losing your rights. What's on tonight? What's on tonight is, what is it? 90 Days the Other Way. That's on tonight, isn't it? Yeah. Uh-huh. You got Discovery Plus when they can say the F word every 2 seconds and show sex scenes and, talk about being tied up and BSDM and all. Yeah, watch that. That's what you need. Bread and circus, slave. Shut up. Got your pizza fatty? Good. Drink that Coke. What's that? 600 milligrams of sugar. No, 600 grams of sugar. 600 packets of sugar in 1 2-liter, right? Something like that. It's crazy. Why don't you have some ramen noodles? There's only 1,500 milligrams of salt in that. Why don't you have some of those and dunk your tatty chips in them, fatty? The installed leader in Ukraine, Vladimir Zelensky, was a last-ditch effort to hold on to power. And really, 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 really bend over for the globalists, for the EU, and for NATO. The first thing he did, we're talking tyranny here, tyrants. He shut down 3 TV stations that criticized him for months. That'd be like as soon as Biden walked into office and installed, the next day he called Fox News and said, shut it down. Look into this if you don't believe me. That's exactly what Zelensky did, except he shut down 3 stations that criticized him. Then he imprisoned the head of the opposition political party. And then he went and had all that political party's leaders, he had them all arrested and put in jail. This is the Ukraine. And right now they're killing each other in a civil war. Geez, let's see here. For a long time this has been going on because there's people on the northwest that, they want to be folded into the EU, supposedly. And then there's a bunch of other people, Ukrainians, that don't want anything to do with NATO. They want nothing to do with the EU. So there is a civil war. There's thousands and thousands of people that have been killed. But it reminds me of something that happened in America, where you had all these well-funded Antifa lunatic communists fighting for what? Burning our cities down for what? And who was paying for it? Because why? You see how this all works? It's just different locations on the chessboard. It's the same programs over and over. It's the same military operations over and over and over. Just like all of the UN planes that people are now taking video of up in the North Bay area of Canada. They're even starting to scratch out the UN and block it out so people can't see the big white planes with 2 letters on the back, says UN. The troops that are in Ottawa right now, they have no name tags, no badges, no identification, the stormtroopers. And this is something Covert Radio has always said, what's coming to America. When they bring in, and I don't know, I'll give you a quarter for every 10,000 times I've said this in the last 5 or 6 years. When they bring in UN peace troops, right? The peace troops, these people don't speak English. They have orders. They don't care about your constitution. They don't care about your rights. They don't care that you're hurt. peacekeeping troops from the UN. Now they're in Canada right now. This is what's coming. This is what's coming. $7 a gallon in gas, and the UN peacekeepers are coming. And they're going to keep so much peace that they're going to stomp you with horses, just like they did that lady I showed you the other day. That's how much peace, just like in Australia. They care so much for your safety, they're busting women's faces open with the butt of a gun because they don't have their mask on. You know what's funny? This clown they've installed in Ukraine, he's never held any public office. Look into this guy. He's never had any public office ever. Not even student council. You know what he's known for? He's a movie star. I'm not joking. He's a television star. And guess what? There's a series in the Ukraine called Servant of the People, in which his character accidentally becomes the Ukrainian president. It's laughable anymore. It's laughable. You talk about programming, predictive programming. Are you serious? I mean, again, either people really are this stupid or they really think you're this stupid. This guy is an actor, never had a public position, is on television in a series called Servant of the People. His character in the TV show accidentally became the Ukrainian president. Now he is the Ukrainian president. Now they are causing a war with Russia because NATO and the EU is not going to back down. They want their military directly against the border of Russia. Right here. See this? This is now current Russia. Here's NATO over here and the EU. Here's the Ukraine. Surrounded. Ukraine is in the middle of it all. Here would be the buffer zone. Nothing really against the Russian borders. That's what this is about. Oil, control, and military. You know, they've had their own issues. They've had their own coups. Yanukovych or whatever his name was hoisted, removed from office in 2014. There was another revolution, which, again, identical to what's happened, here with Antifa and stuff, except it doesn't get to the point where it's been in other countries. See, for whatever reason, Americans are so fat, dumb, and sick and high on drugs that, I don't know, they just don't care. They'd rather seriously watch TV. And as long as the num-nums can have their pizza and TV, I mean, you could take a shit on their face and I don't think they're going to do anything about it. I can't see the TV. Get me a paper towel. Yanukovych was extremely pro-Russian. He was really, really, really pro-Russian. And really 97%, I think it is, the last, around that time, the last poll they did, 97% of the Ukrainians want to be Russian. They want to be folded into Russia. Because here's the bottom line. Russia also has its own trade union. It's called the EEU. There's the EU and then there's the EEU. And here we go. This is what it looks like basically. The green is NATO, EU countries. The red is Russia. And the EUU, which there's only like 5 or 6 countries, maybe 7 or maybe I think Ukraine would be 6. But it's Armenia, Belarus, Kazakhstan, Russia. What else? There's one more. Ukraine would be the other one. And I mean, again, Russia is massive. Adding the Ukraine to the EEU, the Eurasian Economic Union, it would make it the 3rd largest country. But If the Ukraine gets folded into the EU by NATO, if it gets soaked up by them, then they would be the biggest country in the European Union. And all the benefits that go with that, including, like I said in the beginning of this video, a 400 billion GDP, $400 billion GDP. Let me show you this one last thing here. Here are the pipelines. Here are the massive oil fields in Russia. I'm not going to say I've been up in this area, but maybe I've been up in that area. So here. It's what's really underground. They're sitting on one of the biggest reserves on the planet. And you could see here. Look at this. Straight through the Ukraine, straight through the Ukraine, straight through the Ukraine, into the Ukraine. So once this is absorbed, you know, they'll be tying into the, listen, this is about oil and this is about military control. That's what this is. That's all this is about. So, you know, forget anything about democracy or the civil war that's going on in the Ukraine, or, you know, we got to protect whoever. That's no. This is about oil. This is about military, and this is about shrinking Russia down a little bit more. Putin's a Christian. Russia is a Christian country, and I'm asking all the Christians listening to my voice, please try to wake up your people. Try to wake up your people, because this is it. I mean, this really, really is it. There's never going to be a time in history like this again, and there's definitely never going to be a time like this in our lifetime. I'm Covert Radio. Please subscribe to Rumble. It's rumble.com/Covert Radio. Subscribe to the Covert Radio Twitter. And leave a comment. You know what I mean? I tried to make this pretty short. Share this information, educate people around you, and just let them know what it's really about. All you have to do is really just show them this image right here and bring up a few points. You know what I mean? That's it. Again, this is over and over and over again, just like us going to Iraq for weapons of mass destruction that never existed, you know, and we got to liberate the Iraqis. They're living, get out. This was all about oil and setting up permanent military bases all over the Middle East to protect who? To protect Israel and to protect Saudi Arabia. That is it. And it's going to be the same thing if the Ukraine is allowed to be folded in to NATO. They're going to surround the western border of Russia with military. They're going to have silos. They're going to have every defensive and offensive weapon to keep Russia and whittle Putin down, to keep him at bay. I don't care who you are. You want violent people living next door to you? You will do anything you can to make sure there is, you know, listen, just, I don't know. I'm tired. My voice is gone. Just replay this. I hope it made a lot of sense. I should have waited till tomorrow before I did this, but I wanted to get it out so I can do this next video and not include it. But, yeah, if you have any questions, put them in the comments section, and I'll get to it. You guys take care. Have a good day.